It is now time for our interview of an interesting person. Today's guest will... Okay.
No, go. Keep going.
Keep going.
Today's guest will... Let me get this right. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the Chicago Bear Hog himself, the one, the only, Steve Michael!
That's better than our normal ring announcer does. You might actually have a job as a ring announcer here, kid. You can let Daniel know I said that to you. It's you're young enough, you can keep this going for maybe
Really?
20, 30, 40 years, yeah. Our ring announcer, he's got maybe 10 years tops on him left. So you can take a spot. By the time you're 17, you'll be ready to go. You can work this job for like 20, 30 years. It'll be great. You'll be great at it.
What made you want to be a professional wrestler, Mr. Michaels?
I've always been a fan of professional wrestling. Growing up, I used to go to shows with my dad, and I used to watch it all the time with my dad. And one day I met a man who used to work for World Wrestling Entertainment, and he talked to me and he said, if you start wrestling, he's like, I used to hire the guys over there. With your look, you look like one of the the kinds of guys that I would hire. So I decided to start training and become a professional wrestler because of that. I know you and your dad were at the show last night. Did you guys have fun?
Yeah.
All right, good. I'm glad. Yeah, I used to do that with my dad all the time. That's what got me into the business of professional wrestling.
Well, actually, I do kind of like wrestling.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. And actually, last week I did Janai Kai. That's
Janai.
her name.
Yeah, I know Janai. I know Janai very well.
I know her very well too.
I've trained with her for a bit.
Do you use any math in wrestling?
Not directly. We don't use math directly. There's times when we have to, if we're jumping off the top rope, we have to make sure that we're jumping out far enough. So we have to know how far our momentum and our speed will carry us to make sure that we hit our target. So in that essence, we need to use math to figure out, how fast we have to go and how quickly we have to move in order to use math. Other than that, we don't really have to use math that much.
What do you like the most about being a professional wrestler?
I really like the crowds. I like entertaining. I like performing in front of people and getting them to feel happy, to get them to feel angry at me, to be able to change their emotions. It's fun to just say something to a crowd and then have the whole crowd turn on you and just start booing you, or just say something and get the whole crowd just to start cheering your name. That's a pretty cool feeling to do. It's something that not many people get to experience.
I'm sorry, but I had to do it.
No, I mean that's my job. Most people boo me. I'm a bad guy. When I wrestle, I'm a bad guy. So not a lot of people cheer me.
Naturally, I am so sorry that Tony Storm beat you.
I've fought Tony Storm across the state. I've wrestled him across the state of Florida, all along I-4, in Tampa and Port Richey and Orlando and all points in between. And he's a really tough opponent. And last night was probably one of the toughest matches I've ever had against him. So even though he and I don't see eye to eye, we're not good friends, my hat's off to him. I have a lot of respect for him.
Actually, I saw on Facebook that there was a video about you were going to beat Tony Storm, but
I did say online that I would. I did. You just used my own words against me, kid. And I can't be mad about that. No, you're right. I did say that I was going to beat Tony Storm decisively last night, and that was not the way things worked out even remotely for me. But in my defense, the Tony that I faced last night was a more aggressive Tony than I have faced in the past. So I wasn't ready for the Tony Storm that I wrestled against last night. So in that sense, it's really not my fault that I lost.
So it's his fault?
It's yeah. I mean, it's more his fault. Look, I can watch all the tapes I want. I can watch all the videos of him. But there was nothing that I saw that prepared me for last night. So that was a whole new. I might as well have wrestled somebody different last night, because the man that I wrestled, the Tony Storm I wrestled last night, was not the Tony Storm I wrestled for the past year across this state. So in that sense, it's not my fault I lost.
Well, actually, one of the other wrestlers, there's a guy with a yellow mohawk.
Okay.
And actually, I didn't want my dad to eat my Doritos, so I put it on the other side, and then I started to realize something.
Oh yeah. Well, what happened?
Since they were the bad guys.
Did you
He
start?
grabbed my Doritos and poured it on me.
Well, I mean, if you were booing them, it sounds like, I mean, you probably deserved it.
So maybe I should have put it under my chair.
Or don't boo him. Don't boo him next time. I mean, if I saw you were booing me, and I saw the Doritos, I didn't see Doritos. If I saw the Doritos, I would have done the same thing.
Well, actually, they were on the other side of me.
See, I didn't see them. I couldn't see them. I think your dad was blocking the way at the time. I didn't see the Doritos, but I promise you, if I saw those Doritos, I would have poured them over your head too.
Well, it was very fun.
Well, I'm glad you had fun and enjoyed watching me lose.
And I'm sad that Janai lost.
Yeah, I mean, Janai also lost. Yeah, she's tough. She's just because she's a girl, just because she's a female wrestler, that doesn't mean she's any different than me as a boy, as a male wrestler. Her and I, she goes through the same kind of training as I do. She does the same kind of stuff as I do. I've trained with her in the ring, and I've seen the stuff that she can do, that Janai can do. And she's a really tough woman. So my hats are off to her. She faced a tough opponent last night in Santana Garrett, and who actually trained her. The woman she fought last night helped train her.
Really?
Yes, so she was wrestling against her teacher, and so of course her teacher's going to win, because the teacher still knows more than the student, and the teacher always knows more than the student.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's it wasn't really promoted as much, and a lot of people didn't know that, but Janai Santana was Janai's teacher.
We had a girl wrestler on last week. Is there a difference between girl wrestlers and boy wrestlers?
No, there's not. I mean, they, like I said, they do the same stuff as us. They're just as tough. The women today, the girls today that are wrestling, are just as capable as the boys and the male wrestlers today.
Do you really get hurt when you get slammed to the ground?
It does hurt. The wrestling ring is not it's not soft. what a lot of people don't realize is it's a very thin, about maybe an inch thick of padding, if that, maybe a half an inch. And then a layer of canvas is over that, but underneath the padding are thick 2x4s, wood boards, and those are on top of steel beams, of metal beams, and that's what we're landing on. So the small padding that we have doesn't really do that much when we land on it. It protects us just enough that we're not seriously injured, but it would be like landing on this table in front of us. There's not a lot of give to that. So a lot of people don't realize that that's how the wrestling ring is made.
What do you know outside the ring? What do you do outside the ring for fun? Do you play video games?
When I get a chance, I do play some video games. I don't get a lot of time anymore because I do a lot of traveling. I always make time for the Lego video games. Those ones are always fun. It's for a grown adult to be saying that is weird, but I love those. The Lego games are neat because they bring in like weird like third level characters from like comic books and things like that. And I love to read comics, so I guess I also read when I have free time.
So what is your favorite read?
The Lego games are probably my favorite.
You lived in Orlando for 3 years. Why did you move away?
I moved home. I moved down here to train to become a wrestler, and a lot of things changed in that time frame, personal things, and I decided to go home. Chicago was my hometown. I grew up there. I lived there for 28 years before I moved down here, and decided it was the right time to go back home and to move back to Chicago. I guess the short answer is to go home. There's no place better than being in your own home. So that's what I did.
Do you have a favorite book?
I do. My favorite book is Ready Player One, which is a really good book. They just made it into a movie this year by Steven Spielberg, and I like the book because it reminds me a lot of the stuff that I grew up with. It talks about a lot of the video games and things like that I grew up with. So that's why I like that book. It reminds me of being a kid.
Well, actually, I saw the movie.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
It's so good. It's such a good movie.
Have you seen it?
I did, yeah. I saw it in IMAX.
We saw it at, I believe, Epic Theaters.
Oh, okay.
Actually, there's a poster. It has us.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we're kind of like a sponsor.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So like, everybody sees me right on top of the computer.
That's really cool.
Actually, do you want to see my Malfoy look?
Yeah.
I'll get you.
That's pretty
Yes.
spot on. I like that.
What type of music do you listen to?
I prefer a lot of rock and roll, a lot of '90s alternative music. That's kind of that's what I grew up with. My parents listened to a lot of the oldies, the stuff from the '60s and that, and so I listen to that too. But if I have to pick one radio station, it'll be like the '90s, rock and roll, alternative, Nirvana, things like that.
What if someone wanted to be a professional wrestler? What would you tell them to do?
I would tell them first to get their education. Wrestling is a very, very tough job, and it can end in an instant. It's very dangerous. If you don't have a degree, if you don't have education to fall back on, if something, God forbid, something happens to you, you want to be all right. You want to be able to do something else and be able to support yourself once you can't wrestle. So I'd say definitely get your education first, go to college, get your degree, and then find a school, find a good wrestling school that will train you. Find people that are known in the business, that know what they're doing, and just be open. Just be open to learning. If that's one thing I've found in my whole life, if you're not open to learning something new, you're never going to succeed. I started trying to become a wrestler at 29. When most of the other guys are 18, 19, 20 years old. So I was the old guy, which is weird at 29 to be the old guy. But I was always open to learning and to asking questions and not being afraid to ask what could be considered a dumb question. Because if you don't ask it, you'll never know. So yeah, just be open to always keep learning and to keep progressing your own self better. That's the best advice I can give to any professional wrestler.
Well, if it would be on a Sunday, I would be so much happy to do it.
You know what? I mean, there's so many places that train throughout the week. Like it's like going to school again. Like you go to school now, and it's Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
It's the same way if you go to like a good wrestling school. You're there Monday through Friday, and you're still you're there from noon until 6 at night, and you're just learning. It's a long day.
That would be perfect for me. If I could just come at 3 something, I'll be so happy.
Do you know by the time you're 17 and you're able to become a wrestler, your time will free up so much more. You won't even believe it. If I was to tell you how much more your time frees up, you wouldn't believe me right now.
Cause actually, my school closes at from 5 10. Because there's something called Reach. It's kind of like an after daycare thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, if it's something you want to do, you find a way. Me, I moved away from all my friends and my family just to move down to Florida to become a wrestler. You step out of your comfort zone and you find a way to do it, just like anything in life.
Thank you so much for being my special guest. Can you stay on to help with math problems?
Yeah, I'm not terrific with math, but I will absolutely help with math.
Well, I can teach you if you want.
That would probably be helpful.
Okay, I'll be right.